Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about quadratic equations. So you might be wondering, what is a quadratic equation? Well, that's a good question, and we're going to be answering that question in this video. So a quadratic equation is when you have both a variable and its square in the same equation, such as x and x squared, or a and a squared, or maybe even bc and b squared c squared. So an equation that has both of these numbers in the same equation, so in one equation, is a quadratic equation. So that is a quadratic equation. So an example of a quadratic equation could be x squared plus 2x plus 1. Actually, this isn't a quadratic equation because it doesn't give you it doesn't have an equal sign. So this is not an equation. This has a special name for it, and it's called an expression. So this is an expression. So an example of an actual quadratic equation would be x squared plus 2x is equals to -1. Now this is an equation. And specifically, it's a quadratic equation. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how you solve quadratic equations. So how do you solve a quadratic equation? So normally, what you'd be doing is you'd try to get x to one side of the equation. But in this case, even if you did do that, such as in this example, you can't really figure out a way how to derive the actual value of x. So to do that, you need to, what we're going to do is take our previous example, which was x squared plus 2x is equals to -1. Now, the first step is you want all the terms on one side of the equation. So all terms on one side. So you'd want all the terms on the left-hand side of the equation so that you have 0 on the right side of the equation. So to do that over here, so now we're going to find any two numbers that add up to 2 and have, when multiplied, give a product of 1. And I'll explain why I chose these two numbers. I didn't choose these two numbers. If you look at the equation, the coefficient of x is 2. So you want two numbers that add up to the coefficient of x, which is 2, and you want two numbers that multiply to the constant, which is 1. So two numbers that add up to 2 and give a product of 1. So what two numbers have a product of 1 but add up to 2? So that doesn't really require a lot of thinking. The numbers are 1 and 1, because 1 times 1 gives you 1 and 1 plus 1 gives you 2. So that's pretty easy. And we're going to substitute the 2x as x squared plus x plus 1. Now what I really did is x squared plus 1x plus 1x, but that's the same thing as x plus x. And now what we're going to do, we're going to simplify this. We're going to take a common of x. So in these two have a common of x. So if we divide this by x, we get x plus 1. Same over here, both of these have a common of 1 and 1. So plus 1, x plus 1. So, and now what we're going to do, we're going to take these two numbers and put them in our brackets. So x plus 1 because of these two, and then again, these two, x plus 1. So there you have it, your x plus 1 and x plus 1. So all of these equations give you 0. Remember that, because this is basically our original equation except a bit more simplified. So x plus 1 and x plus 1 is equals to x plus 1 squared, which gives you 0. Now, what number squared gives you 0? 0, that's the only answer. So x plus 1 must be equal to 0, right? So that means x must be -1, because 1 minus 1 is equals to 0, and 0 squared gives you 0. So that is the only answer over here. Now let's take a look at a different type of quadratic equation. Take for example x squared plus 24x gives you 25. So what we're going to do, we want 0 on one side of the equation, so we take away 25 from both sides. So x squared plus 24x minus 25 gives you 0. And then any two numbers that when multiplied give you negative 25, make sure you look at the sign, and when added give you 24. So again, that's pretty easy, 25 and -1. So we substitute this as x squared plus 25x minus x minus 25, which gives you 0. So we take our common, which is x. So in the first two terms is x. So x times x, which gives you x squared. And x times 25 gives you 25x. Then over here, the common is -1. So x plus 25 is equals to 0. So that gives us x minus 1 and x plus 25, which gives you 0. Now look at how we didn't end up with an expression squared, because in the previous question we got x minus 1 squared. So we found out that x is equals to 1. Oh, my bad. We got x plus 1. So x plus 1 gives you x plus 1 squared, so x must be -1. But in this equation, we got two different expressions. So what do we do in this case? Well, we know that at least that one of the expressions must be equals to 0. So x minus 1 must be equals to 0, or x plus 25 must be equal to 0. So either way, even if one of them is 0, then 0 times whatever the other expression is 0. So there are two answers to this question. So there are two values of x. So the two values of x would be, well, in our first one, we got x minus 1 is equals to 0, and in our second one, we got x plus 25 is equals to 0. So x minus 1 is equals to 0. If we add 1 to both sides, x is 1. And in our second one, we had x plus 25 is equals to 0. Hence, x is equals to -25. So we have x is equals to 1 or negative 25. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you're walking away with a little bit more knowledge of quadratic equations. Thanks for watching.